So hello YouTube, just another little hobby project today. So I set this up because, well, I'm interested in solar power, and I thought maybe I could set it up like a little charging station. Today I have like a 6-port USB charger that plugs into mains, and then I'll charge all my stuff, but I've got quite a lot of stuff that needs charging regularly. Of course, I've got my phone. Then I'm also an ex-smoker, so I use these vaping devices. They need charging. Wireless headsets needs charging. Batteries for various stuff needs charging. And I thought it would be cool if I could do it with solar power. So I went out and bought 1, 2, 3 solar panels. Right now they're set up like that. They're bought so they fit in the top windows there. They are, let's see if we can zoom in on one. See, they're 1 amp at 18 volts. So they're 18 watts solar panels. So in all there's, say, 50 watts worth of solar power. But the thing is, this is not a very ideal spot. But my apartment doesn't have an ideal spot. The outside area is a common area. I can't just start setting up solar panels out there. The other side of the apartment has tall buildings up against it, pretty much. There's this tiny road and then tall buildings on the other side, so no sunlight gets in there. And this side of the apartment, it does get some sunlight in the afternoon. Right now it's about 9 o'clock in the morning. The sun has only risen like an hour ago. And if we see, the battery are pretty much fully discharged during the night. It's down to 11.9 volts right now, just sitting with no load on it. I discharged it by using the built-in USB ports to charge some power banks that's behind the multimeter here, just to get it down so I can see how much power can I actually get in a day. How high will the battery go with charging for a day under these not ideal circumstances, because we're in October and it's Denmark and it gets dark pretty early, and there's not a lot of direct sunlight here. It's less than ideal conditions, so this is kind of an experiment to see if does it even make sense if you can't set up your solar panels in direct sunlight and maybe even have tracking and all that stuff. So you see now, the sun has been up for about an hour, but it's actually on the exact opposite side of the building. So about noon-ish, or about 1300, we'll start to get some actual direct sunlight into this little courtyard out here. So you see now in indirect sunlight we're not getting high enough, or well, there is no sunlight at all because it's actually quite cloudy and foggy today, but it should clear up within an hour or two. And right now you see we can't quite get enough voltage on the panels right now with these conditions to actually charge the battery. You see the panels is at a lower state than the battery, so we're not getting any charge right now. But I'm gonna keep an eye on it through the day and get some direct sunlight and get some really good charge going. I'll probably come back, otherwise I'll come back this evening to see did we get anything. You know, the battery, when I connect it up, it's just sitting in standby for a year or something. It was sitting at 12.4 volts. It's 12 volts, 17 amp hours. I think it's 17 amp hour capacity, so that's 17 times 12, that's almost 200 watt hours, I guess. But from the 12.4 amp hours, I was able to almost fully charge these two power banks. You see, one is fully charged now and the other one is almost fully charged. And these are 1000 milliamp hour power banks, regular USB power banks. So, and some random dude is calling me. I don't know that number, so I don't know what's going on. Anyway, didn't know that number, so I'm not gonna answer it. But anyway, this is the project I'm doing today, to see if this is even possible to get any sort of useful energy out of solar panels just sitting in your window, pointing out at they'll hardly ever, maybe there'll be like half an hour where they're getting really good sunlight on them. Most of the time, especially here during the winter, they will have to rely on more or less indirect sunlight. So yeah, we'll see if this makes sense, or if just wasted, I don't know. Well, the charge controller was cheap, that was less than 10 euros. The panels were 30 euros a piece, I think, and the battery is probably like 50 euros. So I'm looking at 150 euros worth of equipment, which might just be wasted if this doesn't work out, but we'll see. That's why I'm trying it out, just to learn about this stuff. So either way, I'll learn something. So I'll be back later. So I'm back. It's just an hour later. The sun's been up for about 2 hours. It's still kind of on the other side of the building. It won't be shining directly into the courtyard out here until another 3 hours or something. But we're actually at the point where I've just finally started to get a charge into the battery. If we zoom in here, you can see it's the various things here. It shows that the solar panel is now on. We've got the little sunlight, means it sees that the solar panel is on. It's receiving charge. Before there was a dark moon here, that meant that the voltage was too low to charge the battery. But now we're just getting a charge, just barely. I think it might just have dropped out, but I mean, at the point where we are starting to see a charge, even though this is very indirect light, it's not even indirect sunlight, it's just indirect light. Because the sun right now, first of all, it's not very high in the sky, so it's probably still even being blocked by buildings from getting directly down here. Plus it's like, how do I show this? It's more than 90 degrees that way compared to the solar panels. It's more like kind of slightly behind the camera, like a 120 degree angle away from where the direction that the solar panels are pointing at. So then I'm able to get any kind of charge at that point is quite nice. Of course, like I said, it seems like it just dropped too low again to really charge. The controller hasn't really picked up on that yet, but you see 11.9. actually just measured as compared to my actual multimeter there, it's more like 11.8 when it says that. But we need another 0.1 volts before we can actually start to put anything into the battery. But it seems to be working. So now the question is, if I just leave this running until it gets dark tonight, how much charge have we actually accumulated? And if we get some really nice sun going in the afternoon, which right now seems unlikely, but it should clear up, so we'll see. I might be back to give a quick report then, but otherwise we'll just see tonight. Might take another empty power bank, try and charge that and see how much I actually got out of it. And then, yeah, so I'll be back again later. Okay, so a couple of hours later, we're still 1.5 hours, 2 hours away from the sun getting directly into the area outside the window. But I just did a few reconfigurations to get a bit more data and optimize things a little bit. So I added a second multimeter here. So the one on the left actually show amps, or actually milliamps, so we're getting in 10 milliamps at about 12 volts right now. So that's not great. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't cleared up at all. It's still very gray and cloudy outside, so yeah, it's not great conditions, but still it's very much still direct sunlight. So until the sun actually gets around this side of the building, I can't expect much more. If it was obvious it was bright sunlight, there would be more reflected light, so that would help a bit. But I also moved the panels around a little bit because I figure, especially because, as you can probably see, if it isn't totally washed out on the camera, there's a lot of trees and stuff, so I figured if I move the solar panels up as high as possible, that would give the best shot at getting the most sunlight. So I've moved them all up into the top window. What I didn't do though was clean the windows before I did that. So the difference is the bottom windows are actually significantly cleaner than where they are now, so that might counteract the effect of that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see when the sun actually decides to turn around or come around here, when the sun actually comes around to the side of the building, and if it actually decides to peek out at any point of the day. Otherwise I might have to continue this video another day when we have some actual sunlight coming through. Otherwise it might be kind of pointless, because like I said, we're getting just under 10 milliamps. That's really, honestly, that's useless. We need to get into like minimum 100 milliamps before this makes any sense, to be honest. Because it's a 17 amp hour battery. That means charging that with 10 milliamps, that would be 1700 hours to fully charge that battery. My math is right. With 100 milliamps, it would be 170 hours. With an amp, it would be 17 hours. Yeah, that seems that must be right. You know, so roughly. Obviously, now you see it's rising a little bit, but not nearly enough. But like I said, we have really poor conditions today, so you know, it's one of the worst days. It could be darker and rainy and stuff, so it could be worse, but it could definitely be a whole lot better. So yeah, we're just gonna let it sit for now and see. Yeah, we're all up to almost double. So we'll see what happens. But it does seem like the battery, if you zoom in on that, it still says 11.9, but if we look at the multimeter here, this is 11.967-ish. Occasionally it will jump a little bit as the charge controller adjusts, but it started out at 11.87-ish, I think, down about there. So it does seem like the battery voltage, although that's the solar panel voltage, but it seems like this charging controller pretty much just when it's above the battery voltage just connects the solar panels to the battery, and then yeah, so that's probably also roughly the battery voltage. So it does seem like it's gone up a tiny bit, but like I said, at that rate in amps, milliamps, yeah, that's gonna take like, it's gonna in winter time it'll take like a month to charge this battery, so that's not useful. But we'll see what happens. I'll be back. So it's now about 1:30 in the afternoon, and the sun has actually kind of come around the corner and is shining still at like an 80-degree angle, but it's actually shining onto the solar panels, although it's still cloudy. There's not direct sunlight, but it's a lot brighter out here now than it has been before, and we can see that on our measurements here. You can see that we're pulling in 40. It was up to about 60 just a minute ago. A bit above 12 volts. And well, now it's dropping. I guess a cloud just passed by, and even the charge controller is now saying the battery is approaching 12 volts. It's kind of shifting back and forth there. So this is the time of day that I have a hope of actually making some energy, except the problem is it's winter time and the sun will be gone. It's going down at about 6 o'clock in the evening, 6:30 maybe at this point, but it'll get later and later as the year goes on. Obviously then we switch to normal time from summertime, but then it doesn't really matter. The space of time that the sun will be in this area is the same. And these will actually stop really producing anything like an hour before sunset, because the sun will be so low that it's completely covered by all the trees that we can maybe see out the window, all those trees and stuff. So realistically I have maybe 4 hours in the afternoon, and that window will get smaller as the year goes on, as we get closer to Christmas, and then it'll start expanding again. But so we'll see what we can do as the sun completely turns around here, and see if we get higher than what we are currently doing here. Yeah, because that's still not quite enough. We need to hit the 100 milliamps for this to make any sense for at least a couple of hours each day. Then I might get a charge that's somewhat usable. But of course this is a bad day because it's cloudy, so there will be better days, hopefully, and worse days because it's cloudy, but it's not almost dark outside like it can be if you've got really thick grey clouds. So yeah, we'll see. I'll keep going with this and we'll see what happens. So now the sun is about to set. It's pretty much disappeared down behind buildings and trees and stuff, and it's gonna be set in about 3/4 of an hour. And the voltage we're bringing in from the panels is below the battery voltage, so we're not actually getting any more charge right now. We didn't get higher than 12 volts, which means we only maybe optimistically charge 10% of that battery, probably less, 5%. But okay, it was a really bad day to do this, so I think I'm gonna see again tomorrow. It should be a lot brighter tomorrow, a lot less clouds, more sun. We did get a little bit of direct sunlight here in the late afternoon, but really not a whole lot. And a problem with where these, it's the best spot in the apartment to point these solar panels, but it's got a problem in that the sun comes in from over here, shines in directly in like 90 degrees, and then it starts dropping, and there's tall buildings all the way around here, so when it would actually be pointed almost directly at the panels, or well, still at, I don't know, 30, 25 degrees, but the closest it will get, then it's actually behind a building over here at this time of year. So yeah, this will probably only really work really well in the summertime, I'm afraid. In the wintertime, I don't get a window to actually get some good direct sunlight on these panels, unfortunately. But I'll keep at it for a little while, let it run for a few days and see if if it gets better. Maybe also look into getting a better controller that can pull in the voltage more efficient, because this just seems to, it pretty much loads the panels down to the battery voltage almost, and that's far from the max efficiency of these panels. They should be running at, I'm just looking at it, they've got an official like max power point, 18 volt panels, 1 amps, but I think on the page where I bought them it said something about being optimal at around 16.5, 17 volts, and so there might be a bit more efficiency in them for certain applications, and we might be able to, with a better controller, to not load them down as hard, so it would actually keep continuing producing a little bit now and a little bit early in the morning and stuff like that. But that's for a future project. I've had a look at the Julian Eyelet's PWM5 controller, which he's released the schematics and code for and stuff, and some people have even refined it a bit, and he's himself doing like now a surface mount version of that on his channel. I might try to build that. It's Arduino based, and that's actually a real PWM controller, and because it's Arduino I could potentially expand it a bit to suit my specific needs, to try and pull as much power out of solar panels in less than ideal conditions. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyways, this is it for this video. If I manage to optimize this, I will be back with another video, and if you want to see that, then please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. But until then, take care everybody.